Vince.
Good dance.
Color present colors. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prepare to post the colors. Post. Color guard, regroup. Dismiss. Carl, please sit.
In April of 2017, the Geneva Historical Society received an email from an Irish gentleman named Philip LeCain. He stated that on October 10, 1918, Roderick Perry Taylor, Chief Machinist Mate, Aviation, U.S. Navy, was lost when the R.M.S. Leinster, the ship on which he was traveling, was torpedoed and sunk by a German submarine in the Irish Sea. Taylor was one of several Americans killed in the sinking. He wanted to know if the Geneva Historical Society would consider holding a 100-year memorial for Perry Taylor on October 10, 2018, at the same time as a memorial would be held in Ireland and other countries around the world to remember the 553 civilian and military casualties on that day. I found that our museum had photos, personal information on Perry, and most importantly, had an autobiography by Charles S. Taylor of Oviedo, which had been dedicated to his Geneva and Navy friend, Perry Taylor. Because of all this known information, Perry was made the representative in Ireland of all the Allied soldiers who lost their lives that day. With probably over 200 emails crossing the Atlantic between Philip, Val, my husband, and myself, we learned how to say strange Irish names, that the Irish English don't have a word centennial in it, and that our new Irish friend Philip is the leader of Ireland's National Maritime Museum and author of the historical book Torpedo, the R.M.S. Leinster Disaster. Our Perry Taylor, Geneva, and Oviedo are now in his second book and have been in several magazine articles and on Irish radio and television. This is how it all started. We easily found the Charles S. Lee relative and spent months trying to find at least one Perry Taylor relative. We found both, whom you will meet today during this memorial. And some of the Lee family have even gone to Ireland now to be at the large ceremony today in Ireland. To tell a little about Geneva's Perry Taylor is supposed to be Deputy Jeffrey Dunham of the Orlando Police Department, whose grandfather was a second cousin to Perry Taylor. He is not here. He said he would be here unless something on duty called him. So he's Orlando Police Department. So I am Jeffrey Taylor. Roderick Perry Taylor, known as Perry, was born on December 5th, 1892, to Sarah and James Taylor of Geneva, at that time called Harney Cove. Perry's brothers and sisters were Hoyt, Eva, Olive, Francis, and Anne. The Taylors were farmers with large groves, and And after the freeze of 1894-95, when over 75 orange groves in the area were wiped out, many families were forced to try to survive while reestablishing their groves. But the Taylor family finally had to join the large exodus, leave their farm, and move to Orlando to make a living. In Orlando, they lived at 511 Broadway, and after working for a while as a boy laborer at odd jobs, Perry was employed as an automobile mechanic by the Cook Auto Company and also signed up as an Orlando volunteer fireman. As the Orlando Fire Station was around the corner from the Cook Auto Company, he must have been the first volunteer to report for duty when the siren sounded. Perry always wanted to serve his country, and he joined the Florida's National Guard, serving for 4 years, attaining the rank of sergeant. During his time in the National Guard, he served on the Mexican border when Mexico was racked by a civil war with Pancho Villa. After 1917, when the U.S. declared war on Germany, 24 million men in the U.S. born between 1873 and 1900 completed draft cards. Perry Taylor completed his in June with his draft card showing that he had gray eyes and brown hair. It is not known whether he was called up or volunteered. 3 months later, on September 6, 1917, he joined up at the Navy recruiting station in Jacksonville at the age of 24, along with his friend Charles Lee from Oviedo, and they were assigned to the Naval Aeronautical Station in Pensacola. The U.S. Navy had an early interest in the military use of airplanes, and at the time that the U.S. declared war, Pensacola was the U.S. Naval Air Station's only air station. 48 officers, 239 men, and 54 training aircraft were based at the station. Charles S. Lee was born in Oviedo in 1892, the 10th and last child of Oviedo pioneers Laura Barnett and James Howard Lee. He spent most of his life on the south side of Lake Charm and spent many hours working as a farmer and a cattleman. In April of 1991, 6 months before his 99th birthday, Charles Lee dictated an account of his time in the U.S. Navy during World War I to his daughter. Speaking as if the long-distance war had been fought the previous week, Lee dedicated, quote, "my experiences in World War I to his lost friend, Perry Taylor of Geneva." His daughter, Thelma Lee Klontz, prepared the script and also presented a copy to the Geneva Historical Society. To read an excerpt from the autobiography is Charles S. Lee's grandson, Richard H. Lee.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you to all the veterans who are here today. Really, a lot of myself, from my perspective, and everything that gets served in the armed forces, and that's all. Thank you so much for your service. In late August of 1917, I went to Jacksonville, catch a ship in Philadelphia, where I tried to join the shore patrol, but I was told there was no vacancies. Returning home, our ship stopped several hours in Savannah. There, I talked to a Navy recruiter who told me about a school to train aircraft mechanics that just opened up in Pensacola. I immediately applied and was told to go home and wait for my orders. The first week of October, I received notice to report to the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, and a railroad ticket from Orlando to Pensacola was closed. When the train stopped at Palatka, I got off to buy a sandwich and met Perry Taylor doing the same thing. We had known each other for years, but seldom had contacts, as he lived in Geneva and I in Oviedo. We arrived the next day at the air station and signed up for the mechanics training. Our cots were together, we worked together, and were more or less constant companions, as there was no one there either of us had ever seen before. It was fast and hectic training, but on completion of the course, the latter of December, we were each given a second-class machinist mate rating, the salary of which was $32 a month. Soon after, a list of 100 names from Company C were posted for foreign service. Perry and I were on that list. The ship we boarded in New York Harbor had been gutted and equipped with bunks to carry troops and 3-inch guns and was considered relatively safe due to her speed. Perry and I had bad colds, sore throats, and congestion. I believe our journey ended on January 2nd. We were met well out to sea by 2 American destroyers to convoy us through the submarine-infested waters approaching Liverpool, England. A troop train was waiting to take us up to Holyhead, Ireland, then a boat to Dublin, where we boarded a troop train for Queensland at the southern end of the island, and on to an island where the U.S. base on it. There was a hospital on the island run by the Royal Navy and used mostly by Yanks. Harry Taylor's cold went into pneumonia. When he took mumps, one day at noon, we went down for lunch, and I walked over to the back fence of the hospital, beckoned the nurse who knew Perry, got a report, and asked her to tell him I'd do anything I could. Soon he came to a second window and waved at me. The nurse came back with a message: "Lee, these lions are starving me to death. Send some money to buy this nurse," which I did. That was the last time I saw Perry. I was moved to another camp 10 to 12 miles away, and a recovered Perry went to work on minesweepers and kite balloons. Finally, one day, Perry and I planned to meet in Dublin in the first week of September and take the Irish mail steamer Leinster, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the word, across to Holyhead, England for a week to leave together. However, I received a letter from my Army brother, James Lee, who enclosed a letter that he would very much like to see me, but was being shipped out soon. I figured he was being sent to the front. I immediately went to my commanding officer to request that my leave be set for 1 day earlier than when I was to go with Perry. I wired Perry to meet me at the Y in London when he got there. When I got to England, Jeremiah B. and I went into Liverpool to catch a train to London. We heard that the Leinster had been torpedoed, killed half the passengers. There was a strong wind that night, and the water was so cold that a man could not last in it for more than an hour. Still, I knew Perry was a strong swimmer. I felt sure he was one of the ones that had made it through. There was no way to know for sure, though. 3 weeks to the day after I returned to my base, I received a letter from Goldie, my wife, saying she had just returned from Geneva, where she had attended Perry Taylor's funeral. This was the first time that I knew for sure that Perry was dead. If I had not received that letter from James, and because of it, but day early to see him, sorry, let me do this. I would have been an ill-fated minister with him, and I wouldn't be here. That's right.
Are you Jeff? Okay. Stand up, Jeff. I already read your part, but I'll let you do that. This is Jeff Dudham, who is the direct relative of Perry Taylor. These 3 people in the pink, this man in the middle, those are your relatives.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. It's my great-great-grandfather. I had a family by the home in 1873. So, yeah. And there's about 100 of us descendants around here. I ain't kidding. Just couldn't get them all in here.
Okay.
Alan ran it in, but that was my grandfather.
Right. Yeah.
Well, great. Have a seat. We'll get you into the group. The Sanford Herald of October 15, 1918, reported that Perry Taylor's body had been picked up by a rescue ship and returned to his parents in Orlando. It said that, quote, Perry was a very great favorite, a manly man. His body was buried in Geneva on Tuesday, November 12, 1918, just over a month after his death. In 1962, Perry's younger sister, Frances Taylor Goldman, applied for a U.S. military headstone for her brother. You're up.
means memorial mail ship. The R.M.S. Leinster carried mail and passengers across the Irish Sea between Ireland and England. On other R.M.S. ships were R.M.S. Titanic and R.M.S. Lusitania. When World War I started, the ships were also used to transport troops and equipment. At 8:50 a.m. on Thursday, 10 October 1918, the two gangplanks were removed from the port side of R.M.S. Leinster and ropes cast off. The ship moved away from Carlisle Pier through Kingston Harbor and out into the Irish Sea. The weather was fine and the sea was rough following recent storms. Aboard the ship, the crew, postal sorters from the Dublin post office, civilians from many parts of Ireland and Britain, but most of the passengers that day were military personnel, Army, Navy, and Air Force, including nurses. They came from most of the world's English-speaking countries: Ireland, Britain, United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Sitting on deck, New Zealand rifleman Patrick Fahey pointed out what he thought was a porpoise to his Australian pal, Lance Corporal Michael Roach. Roach looked at it and he thought it was a whale. Both were wrong. Short before 10 a.m., a torpedo missed the ship, passed across her bow. Soon afterwards, two more torpedoes hit the ship port side and sank it. American peritators sank, and at least 565 others perished in the greatest ever loss of life in the Irish Sea. 359 of them being Allied military vessels. Among those aboard the R.M.S. Leinster was Captain Hutch Stone, commanding officer of the U.S. Naval Air Service in Europe. He was returning from a tour of inspection of Navy bases in Ireland. In an account of his sinking, Captain Cone mentioned that several American blue jackets with white hats were aboard the steamer. I should estimate that probably about 5 or 6 came under my observation. They were all in good spirits and nice, clean-looking boys. There were 13 members of the U.S. Navy on board, of whom 4 were lost, including our ferry-taker. There were 3 U.S. Army soldiers on board, of whom 1 was lost. Also, Lieutenant Joseph Furlong of the U.S. Medical Reserves attached to the British Army was lost. Just a few days later, the German submarine UB-123 that torpedoed the R.M.S. Leinster was itself hit and all were killed. Thank you.
Jeff? Since there are no other memorials being held in the United States today for the other 5 American men who died, we wish to briefly remember them now.
Gunner's Mate, 2nd Class, John Wallner Black, U.S. Navy. Black enlisted in the U.S. Navy in Philadelphia in 1914. He was serving aboard the USS Utah, one of several ships stationed in County Cork, Ireland. They were based there to counter units of the German fleet, which were trying to attack transatlantic convoys carrying U.S. troops to France. His body was not recovered, and he is commemorated in Brookwood American Cemetery, Surrey, England.
Lieutenant Joseph Furlong, U.S. Army. The eldest son of Michael Furlong, St. Louis, Missouri, his father Michael was formerly of County Wexford, Ireland, a member of the U.S. Medical Reserve attached to the British forces. Lieutenant Furlong was returning to duty after paying a visit to his father's native district, and the trip cost him his life.
Quartermaster Second Class Joseph Leo Hogan, U.S. Navy. Joseph was from Mechanicalville, New York, and enlisted in the U.S. Navy on December the 15th, 1917, in Albany, New York. He was attached to the U.S. Naval Air Station at Wobbly Island in County Cork, Ireland at the time of his death. His body was not recovered. He is commemorated in Brookwood American Cemetery, Surrey, England.
Sergeant First Class John Alfred Rhodes, 3rd U.S. Army. Born June 29, 1888 in Massachusetts. Finished by profession. He was selected to supervise production of gas mask in London in 1918 and perfected the canister for the gas mask. His commission to officer rank was pending at the time of his death. Sergeant Rhodes was last seen struggling in the rough sea, holding a girl above water. His body was recovered October 11th and was buried in the Brookwood American Cemetery in Surrey.
Yeoman Third Class John James Valentine, U.S. Navy. John Valentine was from New Britain, Connecticut. Like Carey, his body was recovered and embalmed in Dublin. On October 18, 1918, his body was forwarded to Queenstown, County Cork, Ireland, and then returned to the U.S. aboard the store ship USS Glacier. Valentine was buried in New Britain, Connecticut.
We're now going to pass out a copy to everyone, courtesy of the VFW.
Thank you so much. Right shoulder, about 11 o'clock, facing out.
This poppy is one of the world's most recognized memorial symbols for soldiers who died in conflict. It should be worn on the right side with the poppy pointing toward 11 o'clock, the time at which the armistice that ended World War I was signed on November 11, 1918. It is poignant to think that had Harry Taylor's furlough been delayed just a few short weeks, he would have been back home with friends and family. The poppy became associated with the war dead through a poem by Canadian Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae. John McCrae was in the Flanders region of Belgium, and having one day to perform a funeral service for his dear friend and fellow soldier Alexis Helmer, he noticed that the poppies were growing rapidly among the graves of those previously buried. The second battle of Vipers killed approximately 69,000 Allied soldiers, and it was the first battle in which chemical warfare was used by the Germans. While performing, I already told you that, never mind. In the poem, he refers to the power of the opium extract of poppies to induce sleep. Here's his tribute to the resting dead in Flanders fields. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, which mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved. Now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Color guard, prepare to retire the colors. Please rise. Color guard, advance. Color guard, prepare to retrieve colors. Retrieve colors.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for our land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. Please sing. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean. My good foe, God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Color guard, retire the colors. Dismissed.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming and everyone who took part. We did receive an email at 2:30 this morning, which was hopefully daylight in Ireland, from Philip LeCain, who said, I hope all goes well with your service. I would be grateful if you would tell those assembled that I send my very best wishes to you all. From the R.M.S. Leinster. That's it. Yes,